today we're going to do something that uses leftovers, or plandovers in this case. What we're going to do is something called Wiki Rice. Now, Wiki in Hawaiian, or Wiki means hurry or quick, and so this is basically a way to do something real fast. So I've got the skillet. You could use a wok on medium heat, and I'm adding to that a tablespoon of canola oil, and then I've got about a teaspoon of fresh ginger that's been minced, and 3 cloves of garlic, or however much you like. Now, the garlic cloves I had were very large. So we're going to let this cook. You can stir it around a little bit. It's going to cook until it gets nice and fragrant, or about a minute. You just want to make sure that the garlic doesn't start to brown much. Now, eventually we're going to add some rice to this, but in the meantime, before that happens, I'm going to add a couple of more vegetables to it. I've got 2 or 3 green onions that have been sliced up fairly well. You could mince them more if you chose to, but I like to see the onion in there. We'll stir those together a little bit, and then I'm going to stir in about a half a cup of sliced water chestnuts. Now, water chestnuts are great. They're a tuber. We generally use canned in the States. These, in fact, are canned. Part of the reason is because the fresh ones are hard to come by in good condition, but also because the canned ones hold up so well, so that you can buy them already sliced or buy them without being sliced. And the nice thing about them is that they stay crunchy, so they give you a different kind of texture. If you're in a situation where you don't have access to sliced water chestnuts, but you do have access to jicama, it's a good substitution. You can go ahead and add sliced jicama at this point as well. It also retains crunch as it cooks for a fairly long time, and so it'll serve pretty much the same purpose. So this is going to cook about a minute. Again, we want those things to develop flavors, develop aromas, so you don't want to move it along too quickly. Now the next thing, this is going to be like a stir-fried rice product. So you're going to add things at different stages based on the condition that they're in. I've got, probably 3/4 of a cup of sliced mushrooms. These have not been cooked at all, and we're using leftovers or things that are in your refrigerator. So I want to get these in and let them start cooking a little bit earlier than some of the other vegetables that I'm going to add, which have been cooked ahead of time. And so I'll show you what I'm going to use on these. What I have here is about a half a cup of carrots. Now, I cut these in strips, julienne them, and then I blanched them for about a minute and a half because I didn't have leftovers, again, plandovers. You just want them to retain most of their crispness, because they're going to cook a little bit more as they go. So you don't want them to be hard. They won't have time to cook enough, but at the same time, you don't want them to be mushy. So we'll put those in. Now, if you wanted to shorten this even more, you could use frozen vegetables, mixed vegetables that you have. Again, you could use other vegetables that you pop in the microwave for a little bit. If you're going to use frozen peas and carrots or frozen mixed vegetables in this, then the one thing you might want to do before you add them to the pan, so you don't slow the cooking down too much, is go ahead and thaw them. Now, I'm also going to add about the same amount of broccoli. And again, I blanched it for a minute or two. I'm just using the florets. Again, notice these are things that you probably have for dinner in the last day or two, and you could easily use them. If you're using them as leftovers and they have a little bit of moisture in the container, make sure you drain that away, because we want to keep this as dry as we can. Last thing I'm going to put in here, because these take very, very little cooking, and these have not been cooked ahead, are snow peas. And I sliced them down so they're going to be bite-sized pieces, because this is something that you would want to have the pieces be individual size here. And these are going to continue to cook while the rice cooks. Now, the rice, again, is something you do want to have left over, because fresh rice is going to stick together in clumps. So you want to use leftover rice, preferably rice that's either cold, leftover, at least a day left over. And then you can see the difference here. Now, I'm using brown rice, which is not traditional for a stir fry at all if you go to China or anywhere else in the Orient. But brown rice we use in the States, I like the flavor of it as well, but also because it gives us more fiber, gives us a few more nutrients. In China, they tend not to worry about the nutrients that they're losing from the rice quite as much, because they eat so many more vegetables than we do. So we've got our rice. It is dried. The moisture that would have been on it if we used it fresh has been absorbed into the rice, so it develops a little bit of crust. So you can see how it becomes all individual kernels. As you're going to put it in, you're going to want to try and break those up. because the rice is going to cook more evenly if it's not put in one big chunk. So we've got about 2 cups of cooked rice. If by chance you really are in the mood for wiki rice or any other kind of stir fry and you don't have leftover rice, then what I recommend that you do is go ahead and cook your rice, spread it out in a fairly thin layer on a plate or on a cookie sheet, put it in the refrigerator for a couple of hours, and then come back to it at that point. And it will be chilled down. You'll get some of that effect, or a lot of that effect, that you would get if the rice was actually older. This is going to cook for 3 to 4 minutes on stir fry, and then we'll come back and see how we're doing. At this point, remember 3 to 5 minutes, whenever it's hot enough for you. Since we are starting with leftovers, we don't have to cook anything very much at this point. So we're ready for the last couple of steps, which is about a tablespoon of a light soy sauce. Stir that in well. And then we're going to top it off with just a tiny amount of sesame oil. You can get toasted sesame oil. It adds a lot of flavor. So it's just about a teaspoon. Stir that in, and this is ready to go. If you wanted to make this a complete meal, obviously you have a little leftover chicken, a little leftover beef, a little leftover pork. Those could go in it as well, a little shrimp, and you'd have a full meal for your family. This is really easy, really fast for those days when you think you don't have time to do any cooking. This really doesn't take much. This is Wiki Rice for Oklahoma Gardening. I'm Barbara Brown.